So thank you all for joining us. We are going to be reading from this beautiful verse from the Bhagavad-gita. So the verse is chapter 5, text 18. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini suni chaiva swapakecha pandita samadarshina.
The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, outcast.
Thank you all for joining today. This is one of the most important themes from the Gita, especially from a practical perspective. So it is talking about a person who observes. This is the observer, and is called a panditaha. Panditaha means a wise person. And this wise person sees the entire gamut of living beings with equal vision. The wise person has equal vision towards everyone. And the specific list that is mentioned, it's indicative of the spectrum of humanity. So there is a gentle person, then there is, relatively speaking, a rough person. These two are from the human species. But beyond that, there is a cow, there is a dog, and there is an elephant. And all these are being seen with an equal vision. So we often talk about having a more inclusive vision, having less bias, less prejudice, less discrimination. And this verse is giving us a direction, a foundation for having that kind of vision. So how do we get that vision? What is it that the person is seeing? It's interesting that clearly different living beings are mentioned. So when different living beings are mentioned, there is undoubtedly difference. So a cow is different from a dog, is different from an elephant. And the qualities of different people are mentioned and human beings. So they're also different. So difference is being seen. But there is something which is seen as common, and that is the basis of equality. Sometimes we say that if you want to avoid demonizing others, we try to see the essential humanity of everyone. That everybody is a human being like us. But here, what is it that is essential, that is seen common to everyone? That is the essential spirituality of everyone. That at the level of the body, everybody is different. So we could have a gentle person, a rough person, a dog, a cow, an elephant. They're all different. So this is at the bodily level, there is a difference. But the essential person is beyond the body. And that is the spiritual person. That is what is being so seen over here. We discussed this point earlier, that how for each person, we could say there is a material side, and there's a material body, and then there is the spiritual soul. So this equal vision is possible when we can see the soul beyond the body, when the vision goes deep. So this is a quick paraphrase of the verse. Now, how this is to be instantiated in real life, I'll talk about it briefly. But at this stage, Vedaji, Radha, you would like to make any comments?
Yeah, it's a very beautiful lesson that we learn from the Bhagavad-gita, because most of us in the world are caught up with seeing and experiencing the world with our senses. And the fact of reality is what the senses offer to us are somewhat defective and incomplete. And how a sage is able to see everything beyond the defective nature of the world and the senses. And they're able to completely, like almost like this, like the CT scan, the MRI scan, they can see things that we cannot see with our eyes. So they need different instruments. It almost seems like the sages had those internally built systems to be able to completely see through the material externals and see the transcendental nature of the soul within the bodies. So I find that to be very, very fascinating. We need technology here, but the technology for the sage is already built within.
Yeah. This idea that there is more to reality than what we can perceive with our eyes. This is very much reinforced by science. Sometimes people say science, I'm scientific. I only believe what I see. Well, if you only believe what you see, well, give up your cell phone. You don't see electromagnetic waves. You don't see the internet. In fact, science itself tells us that there is more to reality than what we see. And if we consider, discuss this a little bit earlier, if this we see this is, say, the appearance, how things appear to us. And often beyond the appearance is the substance. So of course, the appearance can also be a part of the substance, but the essence of a person, essence of an object is much more than the appearance. So in one sense, this verse use the word panditaha. So one definition of intelligence is to see beyond appearance to substance. Just like when we may look at a person's eyes and say, okay, your eyes look a little red or look a little pale, look a little discolored. But then doctor says, hey, you got cataract, you got some eye infection. Doctor has a more educated vision. And the doctor does some tests and then they find out more. So basically, intelligence, that is through our experience, through our training, through some technological aids, it enables us to see beyond appearance to substance, see beyond what appears to our eyes. And that's why this verse says the wise person, the panditaha, can see beyond. So
you would say that intelligence is required in order to see equality in the world.
Yes, very well put. Yes, to see diversity, that is to see diversity, to see difference, to even see inequality. This person is taller, this person is shorter, this person is very good looking, this person is not so good looking. That's something which we can easily see with our eyes. But there is something beyond that. And that seeing that requires intelligence. Radha Devi, you want to add something?
Yeah, I guess whenever you start explaining that, I always try to look for I always try to juxtapose the spiritual world to the material world. So from my understanding, in the material world, like what's quote unquote politically correct is the same thing. We want to see everybody equal. And then this is kind of what you're explaining in the spiritual world. So it's the same in that sense, except that this expands out to animals also. So I know this, can you explain more, I guess, on how what this is saying is different than what we experience in the material world? Because it seems kind of like the same from like what's enforced on like a politically correct level.
Yeah, that's a good point. We want to see equally because in one sense, there is a part of us which believes that, yeah, nobody should be discriminated against. Certainly, we wouldn't want to be discriminated against. So now we could say the spiritual vision versus the material vision. Now I'm talking about material vision is a noble material vision. a higher material vision. Now, both involve some attempt to look beyond the externals. But the difference in spiritual vision is it's actually guided by insight, by wisdom, by knowledge. Now, you see, the problem with the material aspiration for equality is that it is, to put it bluntly, it is unfounded. Unfounded in the sense that we want to believe, at least the better part of us wants to believe that people are equal. But that is unfounded in material facts. You can take almost any parameter. You can take height, weight, beauty, complexion, IQ level, EQ level. People are different. So, in one sense, the material vision, although we might aspire for equality, we might want equality, but almost every material metric, what we find is people are different. Now, different is a much more pleasing way of stating it, but people are basically not equal. They are unequal. And that is just the reality. So, in one sense, even if we don't have spiritual knowledge, we can see that even in our daily life, there is an aspiration, a deeply felt aspiration for something, for a value, the value of equality that cannot be grounded in material reality alone. Now, we could say there are some things which are equal to all living beings. Yeah, we all have the same number of chromosomes. Okay, male, female, there's a slight difference. But we all have the same human genome. But that is not what we are thinking of when we say people are equal, is it? What exactly are we talking about when we say we are all equal? Even from biological perspective, so many parameters are different. We can consider the enzyme count is different, this count is different, that count is different. So, what is the grounding for that aspiration for equality? That comes through spiritual knowledge. And that is what is distinctive. So the aspiration is similar in both material and spiritual dimensions, but here the spiritual knowledge grounds us within that aspiration much better.
Okay, so I guess this is even like more reason for us to aspire to get off the platform of the false ego and identifying ourselves with these different roles we play or qualities that we exude, because ultimately someone's always going to be better than us, and we're always going to be met with like unhappiness and dissatisfaction. Would you say that's correct?
Yes. Yeah, if we are going to, the two things, we may want to look at equality so that we treat others equally. Other ways also we want to look at equality so that we don't feel inferior or insecure. But either way, that vision can't be fulfilled. So, now this aspiration for equality is very deeply rooted within us. So, we could say our vision could go through two extremes. One is we see only material vision, and only at a material level we see only inequality, that people are different, and therefore there is no point in thinking that people are actually equal because there is difference. And this vision, it's not just an abstract or an armchair philosophical vision. This is the grounding for the worldview of capitalism, where the idea is some people have more talent, some people have more industry, some people have more skills, some people have, of course, more wealth, and they are the people who will go ahead in life. And the other is we have only so here it's not so much see as It's more like seek. Here, this is the opposite view of communism. So in communism, we seek only material equality, but actually material equality is not there at all. So that means they artificially put in some measures, like let everybody have equal wealth, let everybody get the same number of resources. So imposing material equality by state means, that was the aspiration of communism. Now in between, we can say there is spiritual equality, and then there is material. We could use diversity or inequality. But the point is that these two can be harmonized if this is prioritized and this is secondary. We are all spiritually equal, we are materially different. If the priority is maintained like that, then there will be, we can avoid discrimination. And so the material inequality or material diversity is used to pursue spiritual equality. Okay, you are good at this, you do this. You are good at that, you good, do that. But we are all ultimately spiritual beings, we are equal. Presently, our material endowments may be different. One person may have better IQ, another person may have better artistry skills, somebody else may be better at handling money. But if we keep spirituality common, then we can actually have a greater level of harmony.
I think beautifully put. Also on the side of communism, they're also looking at absolute equality, which is something that you mentioned in one of our discussions.
Yeah,
and they're also
only.
They're absolute reality, and they're actually denying absolute equality, and they're denying the reality.
Yeah. So what happens with this is, with respect to, if you look at these systems, at one level there is that innate feeling that people should be treated equally. But when they absolutize equality, inequality is just a fact of life. And it's not necessarily a bad fact. We could go into that. So, but what happens over here, if we consider this, as I said, is denial of reality, that people are different. And it's, if some person is a better musician than others, and if we have to have musical performance, why claim that everybody is equal and let anybody perform music? Let the person who is good at music, let them perform. That will give joy to everyone. So something special, a blessing for one, can actually be a blessing for everyone. Yeah, but if we say nobody has any blessing, somebody is a good dancer, somebody is a good painter, somebody is a good comedian. Now, if they are good at that field, and that means they're better than others, utilize that. So communism, by saying that everybody is equal, it denies the diversity of abilities that different people have. Now, of course, in communism, the focus was on resources, on establishing wealth equality, but that was also based on an idea that nobody should be treated differently. So, for example, so here the denial of reality has two results. One is that talent is not, it is not used for unbeneficial. It is unbeneficial for society, because people who are talented are treated just like everyone else, even in their area of talent. Another is talent even stays untapped by the individual. This was tried, for example, in schools, that after a school year there are exams. So let everybody get the same grade, same marks in an exam. Now, how do you do that? Their idea was that we take the students who got the best marks, students the worst marks, we take it all the marks and we average them, make the mean, and give those marks to everyone. Now, if we do that, the result is if we have a class, the mean marks now to everyone. Now that is, in one sense, that's the adjective mean. Why is it mean? Because the students who are not studied, they think, okay, there are others who have studied better than us. I'll get better marks than what I should have got. So if somebody is if it's normal hierarchy is like this, there are the students at the top, the students at the bottom. They think we are all going to get this average. So the bottom thinks, why should we study? And they go down further. We are anyway going to get good, decent marks. And those who are at the top, they also stop studying. We are not going to get any special recognition. So why should we study? So what happens is the mean which could have been here, eventually the mean ends up going somewhere here. So in one sense, instead, in the name of equality, this was what was sought, equality. But what ends up is something less than mediocrity for everyone. So that's why it doesn't really make things, to deny the equality, to absolutize equality at the material level, it is counterproductive.
Okay, so it's kind of almost like if you're putting together like a football team and you look at all the players that come, you look at their body differences, you look at how good they are at running versus catching versus kicking. And then you recognize that the goal of everybody is to win a game. So then you assign positions based off of their unique skill set. And in that way, because they all have a shared goal, the quarterback can be happy if they have the best kicker ever. And they're not threatened by their skill because they have a common goal. So kind of what you're explaining in this paradigm, when you have that pendulum of capitalism and then the spiritual vision, and then on the other side, communism, you're saying that we should first recognize that we all have the same common goal, which is to love, I guess, love of Godhead, to serve God. So if we all have that common goal, then we can be happy for each other in our diverse roles in serving God, and we almost become like a team. It becomes like a collaborative effort where I'm happy for you, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, because you are so incredibly learned and scholar, and you can help us achieve that goal, and then I can also be situated in my unique role, and in that way there's synergy and ultimate happiness. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, so we could say it's nice example of team of all living is a common goal. Let's start with something more universal before we go to something more spiritual. You could say we all want happiness. We all want lasting happiness. Now, how we get that? But let's agree on the goal that the pursuit of happiness is mentioned as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness mentioned the US Bill of Independence writes also that that's what people are seeking. So we have diversity, we have diverse talents and abilities, but among all living beings, we are all seeking this one common goal. Yes, Vedaji, you want to say something?
I was just thinking how when Radha Priti mentioned this principle of a team, in this world, we are all on one team. And that's on the team of the divine, and we all have a unique talent and a unique purpose in this world. And I remember somewhere that I read, it's that the divine is so unique, and each and every one are so unique that there is a unique quality that the divine has that attracts that unique quality of an individual, and therefore creating a unique bond with the divine. And that's pretty much something that I've always thought about, how unique each and every individual us are. And so there is no need to compete and compare, and how we can all together work as a team and contribute to this world and make this world a better place for everyone else. And we all win together.
I think that's like such a beautiful point, Veda. Prabhu, I think it's just difficult to practice that, like, because then it's so easy, it's so much easier to get caught up in material vision of, like, you're at work and you want to climb the ladder, you want to get the next position, so that you're not thinking like that. So how do you suggest to, like, imbibe that mindset, and so that you can go through day to day in that kind of mental space?
I think that's the uniqueness of this verse, the equal vision. That equal vision comes from spiritual knowledge, when we start to see things from a spiritual consciousness and not the externals. And I think Chaitanya Charan, Chaitanya Prabhu, you may want to elaborate a little bit more on this principle of
definitely. You know what, Radha was saying, that while on one side we want to aspire for equality, but there is also the other drive. If you consider human aspirations, that we have many aspirations. Now, one side is the drive for equality, in the sense that we don't want to be discriminated against, and at least the nobler side of us doesn't want to discriminate against others. But there is another side of us which has the drive for excellence. We want to be good at something. We want to be excellent at something. Say, for example, if you consider football or cricket or baseball, when some player exhibits a move, hits a shot, hits a kick, does a catch, and it's spectacular. It's something which almost transcends the normal limitations of human functioning. Somebody stretches in an unbelievable way and just with one hand catches a ball, or hits a ball. So that just brings a spontaneous applause. The audience just stands up and starts applauding. Why? Because that's a display of excellence. So when we focus only on equality as the absolute value, then we are denying another side of us. That is, we have that innate quest for excellence. And in one sense, the quest for excellence implies inequality. If a teacher says, okay, all the students in the class have come first, that first becomes meaningless. So the idea is that this search for excellence, it is not something which is bad or it has to be denied. It is just that I can be excellent in one field, you can be excellent in another field. And we can have different definitions of success, different standards of success for people in different fields. So I can go to that, but just let's look back at this. So capitalism, so the communism, in one sense, we can say it caters on its good side, it caters to the side of equality. It tries to fulfill our aspiration for equality. Capitalism, on the other side, it aims to, at one level and a better side, it aims to fulfill this human quest for excellence. And okay, you have got a creative idea, you invent something. You have got the money, you have the capacity to manage the money well, then you invest, you get the returns. So this side of the human beings, to want to excel, to want to go ahead, it is not necessarily something which is bad. It is only when on the dark side, when it leads to the pursuit of excellence, the pursuit of success, the pursuit of superiority over others, when it comes at the cost of exploitation. That means, say, for example, in sports, when one player plays better than, in tennis, one player plays better than the other player and wins, the audience applauds. But if they later come to know this player cheated, it was not better, but maybe they cheated in some way, and maybe they took drugs, and that's why they were running so fast or not getting tired, steroids or something like that, then that is not the pursuit of excellence. That is the pursuit of manipulation. That's the pursuit of exploitation. So when, rather than say, if I am here, two people are at this level. Now, from here, somebody wants to go here, they want to become better than the other. So that is not the problem. The problem is when we do it by means is destructive. Either we destroy the other person in the process, we destroy ourselves. And the seeking is not to raise ourselves up as to push others down. That's when capitalism becomes exploitative. So the human urge for excellence also has to be recognized. So the Bhagavad-gita, what it teaches is
But
broad.
there is a flaw to that, right, Chaitanya Prabhu? Because this exploitation, capitalism, is very founded in uh, the principle of exploitation. I mean, when we look at the athletes, this famous Tour de France, he won so many times, and then finally, you know, when they found out that he was doing, you know, some sort of drugs to be the champion, they stripped him of all the glory. So I think in capitalism, it is inherent principle of exploitation is there.
I wouldn't say the principle is inherent, because it is, you could say, there is a part inherent within the human psyche which will look for shortcuts. But the point is creating a social structure that facilitates the pursuit of excellence. That itself is not a problem. Now, I'm not saying capitalism is that social structure, so that socio-economic structure. But the point is that, yeah, there are many athletes who cheat, but that doesn't mean every single athlete cheats. There are some athletes who have worked hard and have achieved something. So there was, I was reading of this boxing champion. When he would do his workout, he'd go into the gym with a bucket, because he would work out so hard that he would practically be throwing up. And he said, till I throw up, I have not really done a workout. Now we may say that is too destructive, but that he rose to the top because that person worked hard, because that person had ability, we had worked hard. We go back to if you go to the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad-gita is spoken to Arjuna. Arjuna was the greatest of archers at that time. And he was great because he practiced. He had talent and he practiced. So yeah, whether capitalism itself facilitates the pursuit of excellence, that is open to question. But in principle, a socio-economic structure which doesn't just emphasize only equality, which also acknowledges the need for excellence, that is something which is required.
So it's almost like pursuing excellence isn't bad in itself. It's when you take it so far as to exploit others, like eating delicious food isn't bad in itself, but when you overdo it, it becomes destructive or unhealthy, right? So this makes me think, like, if you go back up to the original diagram, the communism and capitalism, ultimately those goals are materially driven, and the middle is the goal is spiritually driven. So if your goal is materially driven, inevitably it's always going to end in that level of destruction or exploitation. Would that be correct to say?
Yeah, true. About communism, George Orwell said that all people are equal, but some are more equal than others. What he meant by that, although communism sought equality, even in communism, because the goal was material. So for example, they said everybody should be equal. So here we have, this is the equality that we seek. But the reality is that some people are wealthier, some people are poorer. So what do? We take the wealth from the wealthy and we give it to the poor. And that way these people will come down to this level and these people will rise to this level. But then who is going to decide how to redistribute the wealth? That led to the state. So there were the people who were ruled, and then the rulers. And the rulers had all the power. In this case, it was the state, the bureaucracy, whoever. They had the power to take what wealth from where and to give to everyone. So that's why he said all people are equal, but some are more equal than others. The simple fact is that we just cannot avoid some kind of hierarchy in life. The question is that hierarchy based on excellence or is it based on exploitation? Okay.
So getting back to the topic of equality, we're covering this.
So how do we have this equality? I think that is a big question, and that in one sense requires us to acknowledge that there will be different definitions of success. And the Gita talks about human psychophysical nature in 4 distinct terms. So we could put this as the ministerial, the managerial. These are broadly, you could say, dispositions that different people have. Then you have the mercantile, and then you have the mechanical. So these are 4 different kinds of nature. That ministerial means they're the people who educate, they're the people who guide, the people who counsel. Managerial is self-evident. They can lead, they can instruct, they can get organized. Mercantile are those who generate resources, those who generate money. So in general, there are some, we could put it this way, there are some people who are good at concepts and ideas. There are some who are good with people. There are some who are good with resources. And there are some who are good with objects. So this is their potential area of excellence. And we could say people and their area of excellence. So if we can engage people according to their area of excellence, then the result of that is that everybody can, in one sense, be competently engaged.
So you're saying that the Gita recognizes that the most important, recognizes that like the common goal is spiritual life, spiritual pursuit. So then they have these 4 different categories that one could fit into to live their material life in a way that supports and helps them make progress in their spiritual life.
Yes, so everybody can pursue. So for example, if the only, by resources broadly you can mean wealth and other resources. So if somebody starts thinking that the only idea, the only definition of success is how much money you earn, then now that is not necessarily the definition of success by which people who are of a ministerial, more intellectual contemplation will work. Those who are, say, more intellectual, suppose somebody wants to develop a medicine for a disease. Now, when they are working in that area, they would like to simply make the best medicine. But if they are compromised by mercantile interests, then they'll find out, okay, how can we make this medicine in such a way that we can make the most money out of it? That could mean, sometimes it could just mean perpetuating the disease. There are cases, especially in America, where pain medication is made in such a way that it is deliberately addictive. And when people get addicted to medicines, then the manufacturers, big pharma, they can make big money out of it. So when one particular interest is compromised by another, then those people cannot really pursue excellence in the mode of service. The pursuit of excellence gets compromised by the pursuit of exploitation.
I think another point in this chart that I see, Chaitanya Prabhu, is that everyone is happy operating according to their psychophysical nature when that activity is connected to a higher cause, and that requires spiritual consciousness. And I think that is one of the biggest discussions of today's topic in the from the Gita that we just read, that wherever you are, from that position, you can awaken and raise your consciousness. You do not have to go up this social hierarchical ladders in pursuit of what we call material excellence. Because every stage there is excellence at every one of those levels, provided that the principle is spiritual. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, beautifully put. When we seek do any activity, we could look at where are we getting the pleasure in that activity. There could be external pleasure that comes through fame or wealth or whatever, and there is internal pleasure that can come from harmony. Now, you could say harmony can also be at two levels. There could be more of a spiritual harmony, and there could also be a material harmony. Now, by material harmony means if somebody just loves writing, and then they get a career as a writer, then they delight in writing, they become absorbed in the writing, and that itself gives them joy. Several celebrated authors have said that I get more joy in having written than in being read. Now, of course, every author would want to be read, but the idea is even material harmony gives some happiness. But if it is combined with spiritual harmony means that we are actually parts of the divine, and we are meant to act in the mood of loving service to the divine. Then this gives supreme happiness. So at this level, then we don't focus, okay, I'm doing something according to my nature, my psychophysical nature, and that is also in harmony with my ultimate or spiritual nature. My spiritual nature is that as a soul, I'm a part of the divine. Mamaivam sho jiva loke. In the Bhagavad-gita, in the 15th chapter, Krishna will say that we are all parts of the divine. So even material harmony can give some happiness, but if there is spiritual harmony along with material harmony, then that is the best. That can give us the highest satisfaction. And that's how the equal vision can become sustainable. That means that even when somebody said there are two people who are good singers, now it just depends on many factors. Both of them are good singers, both of them have the nature to sing. One of them may become more celebrated as a singer, the other may not be as celebrated as a singer. But if both of them are in spiritual harmony, that means both of them are acting in a mood of service. So spiritual harmony essentially means acting in a mood of service. A service to the divine and service to everyone in relationship with the divine. So when we act in that mood, then both a more famous singer, a less famous singer, both of them will get satisfaction. So the material diversity, the material differences will not be denied, but they will become, relatively speaking, inconsequential. So to put it in terms of, if you just put it in terms of happiness, no, external happiness, it's like a little drop. External happiness through fame, through wealth. The internal happiness through material harmony. That means by acting according to our nature, that is greater, much greater. But the internal happiness that comes from spiritual harmony, that is far, far greater. And when we get this happiness, then whether we get external fame or not, then that really doesn't matter. So when each one of us is as much as possible grounded in our internal spiritual nature, in harmony with others, in harmony with who we are, then the equal vision is more realizable. Because then if we are spiritually if we are spiritually ungrounded, that means we are not finding any spiritual satisfaction, then whenever we look at the outer world, our vision will basically oscillate between those who are superior and those who are inferior. So with those who are superior to us, we will feel insecure, we'll feel worried. And those who are inferior to us will feel egotistic. But if we are spiritually grounded, then yes, I am doing what I'm meant to do, and others are pursuing their life. So then we can actually have equal vision instead of having this oscillation. Am I making sense?
Yes.
So what I'm
Well-
hearing is like two overlining themes. It's like, first off, get clear on what your ultimate goal is, which is ideally spiritual, because as you so eloquently explained, a material goal of wealth or will ultimately lead to destruction. So get clear on your goal, and then also if you scroll up, get clear within yourself of right here of what actually brings you real happiness, which is internally things, or brings you the most happiness, which is internal pursuits as opposed to external accolades. Is that correct?
Yes.
We may have to summarize the whole thing so that we can get a full caption of this.
Yes. So I think the two diagrams will summarize this. Basically, we started by looking at the quest for equality, how we all want equality, but how do we get it? So to perceive equality, we need the intelligence that sees beyond you can say the intelligence that sees beyond appearance to substance. That was the first point. And in that connection, we discussed how the appearance is at the level of the body, this material side. The substance is the soul. Now, after that, I discussed that this quest for equality, how is it implementable? That either you just absolutize inequality as a fact, because that's how life is, or we absolutize the imposition of equality. We upset the imposition of equality. So these are capitalism and communism, and we discuss the negatives of each of those. So capitalism leads to, okay, we said inequality is there, but then that can get perpetuated and exploited further, exploitative mentality. If there is the absolute inequality, then there is the talent is lost for the person, for the individual. And if this is done, then we have exploitation. We discuss the in-between is the balance what the Gita teaches, and that is we have material inequality, but we have spiritual equality. And how is this possible? To implement this, we understand that there is harmony to be sought. The harmony is both at a spiritual level, which gives us the purpose that we act in a mood of service and love, loving service to the divine. And then at a material level, we act according to we observe, understand our psychophysical nature, and we act according to that psychophysical nature. And that's how we can attain fulfillment. That's how, even if some people are better gifted than others, there are different trajectories of success. And we don't feel insecure because somebody else is getting something more than us. But we can actually implement this equal vision in our life.
Beautiful.
Any quick last points? Vedaji, Radha?
I think we covered it really well. I think the message is clear that it's the spiritual consciousness. It is that spiritual connection that makes everything complete. Otherwise, it remains incomplete.